Well, the replacement dipstick tube arrived. Now this is actually meant for a Vanagon diesel. Turbo or non-turbo, doesn't matter. So it all sort of lines up. The tube is too small diameter for the larger hole. What's nice is that there's this threaded hole here that isn't being used for anything, and it kind of matches up perfectly. The only issue is my new intake is in the way. I can completely redesign my intake, which I don't want to do because I would have to remove the coolant bottle, and I really want to use the factory coolant bottle so it's easy to see it. What to do? I mean, I could easily bend this edge down and it would work just fine and that would bolt in, but I still have to figure something out for the base there. Right here is the actual sealing surface, and there's a little washer that goes on it, and I've got this from the AHU diesel engine. Due to the height and where this is located, I actually want to lower it a couple inches. That way this is more in line. Instead of being up here, I want it to be down here a little bit further. That way it'll clear the intake tube, which I have right there. So it's too bad that the tube isn't quite narrow enough to actually fit down inside this, because that would be fantastic. So what I chose to do is I actually cut it, and I am going to weld, but first I bored out this bottom section with a drill bit and beveled the edge, and I also sanded this down, press fitted in. So this actually isn't coming out. I could install it as is if I wanted to, but I am going to put some welds around there just to be on the safe side because I don't want any oil leaks. So that's it. Granted, this was a very expensive tube, cost me $100, and I did that to it. And there it is, a little cutting, a little bending, a few swear words, some blood, sweat, and tears. As you can see, dipstick is right there. So once this is elevated just a smidge and I move it over, it'll be perfectly lined up the way that I want it to. Right now it does contact the intake tube, and I do have some free space to play with before it touches the deck lid. So I'm going to move it up, not much, maybe like 3/8 of an inch. It's just a lot of little tedious stuff, but it's slowly getting there. Oil fill tube, dipstick, coolant reservoir, all in the factory location. Booyah. The bad news is the second test drive for the Westphalia unfortunately ended in disaster. The engine blew up. Long story short, there's a big puff of smoke and I now have zero compression. Well, I shouldn't say zero compression, I have very low compression to the point where it's not igniting the diesel. I doubt very much that it's just a head gasket. I've checked timing and it's perfect. Didn't jump timing. In hindsight, that's good. That means I don't have to replace the cylinder head. So I'm going to remove the glow plugs and do a compression test. I'm hoping and praying that there's no visible damage on the inside on any of the pistons or valves and that it's just a head gasket that went out. Crossing fingers. To remove the glow plugs, you first have to remove the glow plug harness. Start with cylinder 1, cylinder 2 right here, cylinder 3 right here, and then lastly cylinder 4. Now, to properly remove it, I have to disconnect it from the glow plug solenoid that I have installed here. So to remove the glow plugs, all you need is a deep well 10mm. Be sure to use a 6-point. 12 points, no. Put an extension on it, grab your ratchet, and loosen it up. So that's cylinder 3 out. Now I'm going to go for the others. For the tool, I got this neat bit of kit. Got to grab the correct fitting and match it up Looks like that's it. And then get something that's long enough so I can pop it on here. Now in my case, I only have a gas engine compression tester. So this is going to read too low if it had perfect compression, but I know it doesn't have perfect compression. I just want a number that I can go off of. So this is going to be fine. The first cylinder has about 145 psi. That is not good. I'm skipping the second cylinder because I can't quite get the compression tester fitting in there. So this is cylinder 3 at 130 psi. The fact that all of the cylinders are essentially reading 1/3 of the compression that they should, that is not good. It's very strange that it failed just all of a sudden rather than gradually. But that's kind of the way that things happen sometimes. Found the issue. My rebuilt Melee cartridge is destroyed. Boost was actually set below factory specifications. The peak was about 12 psi, so it was low boost. It wasn't an overboost problem. I'll be contacting them and seeing what they're willing to do. Here's the turbo. There's a turbine housing. There's the impeller housing. You can see right in there with a nut. This guy right here with the end of the shaft flung into the side of it and then tumbled in and destroyed the impeller wheel, as well as damaged the body inside. Got the little bits there. Here's the little bits of the wheel that I found in my cylinders. Oh boy, oh boy. And this is supposed to be attached to the shaft, which unfortunately it no longer is. This I found in cylinder number 3, and that had been bouncing around in there, so it left some good dents in the piston, which I'm going to be rebuilding. Yay. But this is the piston that has the most damage from the turbo. Pretty clear that's from the oil ring that came off the impeller side. You can see on the other cylinders, you got little divots from bits of the fins. Okay, fine. Okay, yep, still seeing them. And down in here, that's the number 2 cylinder. I was already having oil blow-by problems through my CCV. It was just a lot of oil crankcase gas coming out, and I figured out why. Now this is the way that I bought my vehicle, with the engine running. It's missing a chunk of the number 2. That was not caused by the turbo. That was actually before the turbo failed. What the heck? I've finally got the engine apart, and the pistons are in exceptional condition. Except for, of course, the actual heads of them. The skirts are beautiful. Take a look at them. Look at those. Here's an example of a used one that I just got in the mail, which is junk. I'm actually very surprised at just how clean the pistons are below the oiling rings. On top of the oiling rings, the actual rings themselves are junk. 2 are broken. That's turbo material that sort of dusted itself. That's why I was getting all that blow-by and why compression was down. It's because the rings were shot. They were stuck, or they were broken in half. Whatever. So for the cylinders themselves, here's the engine. A little dirty. I don't know. I'm tempted to do a quick hone on the cylinders, use new rings, and replace those pistons. I'm contemplating whether or not I should do a full rebuild, because a full rebuild, pistons, another $500 to $800, machining, which means boring the cylinders out as well as decking the block, which is machining where the head gasket sits. Because all aftermarket pistons have different heights. The actual pistons themselves can be taller or shorter than the originals. I don't know. That's going to add another $500-600 to it. And I'm waiting a couple weeks. If I did just pistons and use the parts that I already bought, which is rings, rod bearings, etc., gaskets and whatnot, the cost on top of that to replace the main bearings, do new pistons that are oversized, as well as buying oversized rings, I'm adding $1,500 onto it. Oh, that is about as much as what I bought that Subaru for Jeez. Well, first diesel experience isn't going too well. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I know it's been almost a month, or at least a month, since my last upload. Sorry. My Instagram and Facebook pages, though, I update those on a regular basis. I do lots of images, post as much as I can about my progress and my projects. So if you haven't already, you can check out my Instagram, which is at It's a Steve Thing, and then my Facebook page, which is It's a Steve Thing. So that's that. Tune in and see you soon, hopefully. Take it easy. Oh yeah.